I think your car is broken, sir.
I expected more from you, Matthew. Is this who you want to be?
They say the summer when you finish school is the best time of your life. Your final summer of freedom. When you become a man. It's important. We just didn't realize how important it would be.
Boys, we're free.
I love you so! I think you look great pregnant.
Has anyone ever told you you have an extremely punchable face?
I saw a girl get knocked over today. She died, but you're fine. Yeah?
It's an ad to make you...
Joseph Harney! Well, lads, final big blowout of the summer. God is in his church. Ladies and gentlemen, the real man. What was in the bag, sugar? What do you think was in the bag, Matthew?
You knew what he was like. I told you.
It never happened. You need him, but you're afraid of him. Are you ready to do this?
Of course we are.
Body of Christ.
Amen.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Cherry the Geek TV. I'm Joe Vanourney. Eoin Macken is an accomplished actor who you've seen on this big screen in films such as Resident Evil: The Final Chapter. He's appeared in television series such as Night Flyers, Merlin, and most recently, The Night Shift. But now he's stepping away from in front of the camera to step behind the camera. He's the writer and director of the new film, Here Are the Young Men, which is now available for purchase and rental on all the big digital platforms. Eoin Macken, welcome to Cherry the Geek TV. How are you?
Thank you for having me. Thank you for having a lovely introduction as well. Appreciate it.
So tell people, what is the best way to describe the film Here Are the Young Men? How would you describe it to people who maybe have not heard of it?
Here Are the Young Men, in my words, would be I consider a dark, transgressive, progressive, provocative look at this kind of coming of age morality tale of these young boys in Ireland after they finish school, and kind of go down these kind of dark paths without any kind of real understanding of what drives them, what's guiding them, and it's an examination of that in a kind of a visually heightened manner, inspired by the music of Joy Division and the Chemical Brothers.
All right. It's based on a book, came out in 2003 by Rob Doyle. Talk about the book. When did you discover the book? What was it about the book that interested you and made you think to yourself, oh, this would be a good film?
Well, first of all, yeah, if you haven't read the book, you should, because Rob Doyle is an amazing author in Ireland. And what happened was, I was approached by our producer, Richard Bulger, to adapt a book I'd written. And then I said no, because I wanted to make Rob's book. So I just read Rob's book around the same time. And I was like, this is just a really interesting sort of take and version of events that I hadn't really read myself before. And I thought there was a really raw examination of these kind of characters going down these kind of really dark paths, which kind of happens. And it was also like really, it was uncomfortable, and it kind of it provoked a lot of feelings in me. And I thought that the way he writes is very cinematic and very, gets into your belly. And so I just was like, I want to explore this story. I want to explore these kids' journeys, and I want to make something that also allows me visually and cinematically to play and kind of create this tapestry of a world in Ireland, which I don't think has been shot this way before.
Now you've got an amazing cast, both young actors and more seasoned actors. The young cast includes people might not know their names, but they've got just for being so young, they've got an extensive list of credits. We've got Dean Charles Chapman, plays Matthew. He was in 1917. He's in Game of Thrones. got Finn Cole, who plays Joseph. People would know him from Peaky Blinders and Animal Kingdom. And then we've got Ferdia Walsh-Peelo, who plays Rez from Sing Street, Vikings. What was it about these three young actors that you saw that made you say, yeah, these are the right people for the roles? And did you look at them individually, or did you have a process where you had to make sure that as a trio that they had chemistry? What was the process of narrowing that cast down?
Yeah, it was very much, to be honest, about the chemistry between the three. I mean, fundamentally, the first thing that was important was finding the character of Matthew. And once I met Dean, he hadn't actually done 1917 yet at the time. And once I met Dean, I realized that he was perfect for Matthew. Because Dean's a wonderful actor, and he kind of understood that innocence, the character, and also was able to bring it to a dark place as well. And then once I got Dean, I sort of built it around with Finn and then Ferdia and then Anya and so forth. We kind of created this kind of balance where I kind of knew they were all going to work. Because, you know, especially with this movie, this movie is a very performance-driven movie, and it's very much about the characters and the actors, you know. And then the rest of the visuals and the music is just kind of creating this tapestry. So I wanted to kind of make sure that they had a right balance, and so that's what I did. So it was. You know, they're all incredibly talented, but it was just about the fact that they understood what the characters were, and then you knew that they were going to fit. And as a group, they really, really fit, you know.
When was the film shot?
I mean, COVID has lost all sense of time for me, so I'm not sure anymore.
Well, that's what I was going to ask, because I'm going to bring up another one of your cast members. I'm assuming this was made pre-COVID. So the film was complete. And then Anya-Taylor Joy, during COVID starts, and then Anya-Taylor Joy is in a big thing that everybody worldwide knows now, The Queen's Gambit. So she blew up in this time since the film was completed. As a director who's got this project you've completed that you're waiting to release, was that like a blessing? Where you're like, oh, she's in my movie?
Yeah, well, here's the thing. I mean, we were supposed to come out last year in the cinemas, like a lot of films. So it was kind of earlier than this time last year we were meant to release, and then everything obviously got slammed. The least important thing in the last 12 months is whether or not a film can be released in a cinema or not. Right. So and then yeah, I mean, Anya blowing up has been a kind of happy thing for the film, but it was kind of, Anya was already always going to do that. And she's got so many projects that are, like, she's incredibly talented. So that was kind of an inevitability. And same with Dean and Finn. And like even like Emmett, since then, Emmett Scanlon does a small part, and he's now, you know, one of the leads in Kin. And Ferdy is doing, you know, Danny Boyle's new series. So there's kind of, that was never really a consideration, because you just kind of knew they were all going to do these really great things anyway, because they're all just so good. So honestly, I thought we had a very small window to make the movie at the time when we did it, where we literally had 4 weeks to shoot. And also because the actors we had who were available wanted to do it, that was literally the only window that worked to get all 4 or 5 of those people at the same time. So we had to kind of just go for it. And I knew you'd never get that again without an awful lot of kind of huge amount of advanced manipulation. So we got very lucky in getting the cast I wanted at the right time, you know.
You mentioned some of the music from the film earlier. I think this soundtrack, I said it as I was watching it, this soundtrack is A+. Like, I want to buy the soundtrack. The songs you use is fantastic. What was the film set in 2003? I know you've spoken that the reason you wanted to keep it in 2003 versus moving it more to modern day was because of the music. Talk about those music choices, and what about the music of that era inspires you?
Well, yeah, well, you know, that kind of music was the kind of music I grew up on when I was a teenager, in kind of like the late 90s, early 2000s. And I remember that Chemical Brothers was the first concert I ever went to. And that's when that song played, and I was in the crowd for that. I was like, this song is just incredible. So where do I begin? So that's what I was like, I gotta have this song in the movie. And so it kind of designs shooting part of that sequence based off that song. And then I had this amazing American composer called Ryan Potesta. I was in a band called Magnets and Ghosts, and he created this incredibly kind of pulpy, gritty composition soundtrack throughout the whole movie that kind of complements the bigger pieces we have. And for me, it was really about getting the tone of, like, you know, if I can get Anya to sing Joy Division's Control, like, it's one of my favorite albums ever. And then like Primal Scream, and then Slow Dive. I was like, that's for me is what half the joy of making cinema is that you get people to write cool music for you, and you get to use cool music tracks to images. You're like, this is exciting. And that was a super fun part of it.
You hit it out of the park with the music in this one. It's a home
music,
a home run. I love it. Talk a little bit about the cinematography. James Mather, I believe, is your cinematographer.
Yeah.
I was really impressed with a lot of the widescreen imagery that he uses, and then there's a lot of the surreal nature as part of the film too, where the film kind of takes a different look, and there's more neon lights and there's more surreal nature to it. What was it like collaborating with him as a cinematographer?
Well, James is incredibly talented, and I'd seen his work on Frank, and I thought he did some stellar stuff. And James is also a filmmaker; like, he's directed a movie, he directed Lockout, so he kind of is a very collaborative individual to create stuff with. And what I wanted to go with the palette was really to create something that kind of always fit the character's moods as often as possible. And so we really lent into that in terms of the color code of it. And then it was very much about a case of, okay, I was like, James, this is a very, very dark movie. We need to I want it to be elevated in terms of the colors. So everything is always heightened. And I wanted you to be able to enjoy everything that was in the frame. And there was two ways of shooting the movie. The movie could have been shot in a darker, even more gritty kind of way, and a lot kind of more movement. And I was like, but I think the story's really so dark. I wanted to kind of lift it and kind of just create every kind of image almost like it was a picture in that kind of in that way, with as much kind of color to be popped through it as possible. And so that's how James shot it. And we shot it on anamorphic, which gives it kind of just a bigger scope and gives it a bigger feel. And I don't think Dublin had kind of been shot in that way before. I didn't want it to feel too closed. And that was the thing about the book. The book goes into a lot of the characters' heads. And I was like, well, we can do that, but then you're going to end up in an even darker place in the movie. And I was like, I don't want it to be too mired down, because you are exploring really dark themes. So I was like, if we shoot it in a nice big cinema scope, it will kind of allow you to enjoy the vistas of what it is. And at the same time, then you can get into these characters' heads at certain times, and kind of really also then pop the fact that they are doing a lot of drugs and drinking, and they are going through kind of dark, weird places in their head. They are being influenced by the media stuff. There is a surrealism, and that can all just pop with the colors and how it's shot.
Now, you have an extensive list of acting credits to your name. How does your experience as an actor, how did that help you when it came to directing? Do you think that you had some benefits because of that? Was it easier to direct because you had that acting background?
Yeah, I think it's easier. I think it's easier in terms of two things. I found that directing has kind of helped me as an actor, because then when I'm acting on projects, I've learned how to just totally give myself over to what the director wants, because that's kind of how I want actors to work with me. So it's a lot about trust. So, if people trust you, and I hope that they trust me, then they just trust me to guide them. And I think that's kind of something that I'm quite proud of, I think, is understanding performances and understanding how to kind of, everyone works in a different way as a process. So I think the most important thing really is that if your acting isn't believable and people aren't connected to it, it doesn't really matter what the story is. So my thing is being able to just guide people in the way of getting to the right performance in the arc, and I think people seem to trust me to do that, because they know that I'm not trying to, I'm very specific about making sure that the performances are correct, and giving people the freedom to play.
Well, we're about out of time. I can't let you go though until I ask you about you have been recently cast as one of the leads in a new NBC sci-fi high concept series, Brea. I'm looking forward to it, even though I've been burned so many times by high concept series that have great pilots. Yeah. And then second episode comes along, you're like, oh, they messed it up. What can you tease about Brea?
I can tell you that you won't be burned this time, because I've been burned too. Because I know, look, I've been a huge fan of things like Lost and the X-Files and all that type of stuff. And then new shows recently, you watch it and then it just meanders. And I've only read the first 4 episodes, and it's kind of awesome. So I'm really excited.
Tell people what Brea is. That because
I don't know what I'm allowed to tell you. I think I'm actually not allowed to say anything. I had to ask. Brea is a new NBC show, and it's kind of a high concept show that's set around the fact that this sinkhole opens up, and this guy's family, my character Gavin Harris's family, gets sucked into it, and he's the only one that kind of really knows what's going on. And there's a lot more to it, and that's all I can tell you.
There's a little tease.
I don't get in trouble because I'm like, what am I allowed to say? But we've been shooting, and it's fascinating. I don't think you'll be disappointed this time. Touch wood.
Well, I'm looking forward to that. That will Brea. They haven't announced when. I'm assuming the fall, but it could be mid-season soon on NBC. And the film is called Here Are the Young Men, and that is available now for rental and purchase on all the digital platforms. Eoin, thank you so much for talking with us.
It's a pleasure. Thank you.
Have a great day.
Appreciate it. You too. You too. Take care.